And welcome back, folks, to We'll Take It From Here with Joe and Don. Yes, I am Joe. See, this is something I'm going to have to get really used to, Don not being here. But welcome back to We'll Take It From Here with Joe and Don. I am Joe. Don's taking a little bit of a break. You guys already know that from last week's episode. This is a show in which we talk about life with the goal to make you think, but also entertain you. We have some cool-ass fucking guests on. We have a really cool guest today. It's going to talk about a really cool topic. Just before we get to our guest and introduction, I just want to say a couple things. You can find us on Instagram at We'll Take It From Here podcast. You're listening from wherever you're listening, but we do have a really cool ass YouTube setup now, as you can see in the background. That's our thanks to our boy Johnny over here, who's on the show as well, and he's been killing it, and he's gonna be filling in for Don right now, and just check us out there too. That activity is going great, so we're really pumped. We're on episode 67 today, and I'm just gonna, without further ado, welcome to the show Kristen Magone, who is my sister-in-law.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Good. So I'm like Joe said, I'm Kristen Magone, and on Instagram earlier he mentioned that we're going to talk about a couple cool topics, but the overall topic today that we're going to discuss is life-altering moments. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I'm going to start out with a quote. This is going to be kind of corny, from The Vow, but it's going to make sense. So. Okay. The moment of impact. The moment of impact proves potential for change, has ripple effects far beyond what we can predict, sending some particles crashing together, making them closer than before, while sending others spinning off into great ventures, landing them where you've never thought you'd find them. That's the thing about moments like these. You can't, no matter how hard you try, controlling how it's going to affect you. You got to just go and let the colliding particles go where they may, and wait for the next collision.
So did you enter into my mind and pick that quote? Because my last couple of weeks have a lot to do with that. So basically that quote, I love that. Thank you for sharing it. is mostly just about letting life take its course.
Yeah, basically. I mean, there are, like I said, and I'm going to keep referring back to it, life-altering moments, like things in your life that happen that you make or break. Yeah. You know, you can go and you can live with it and you can thrive in it, and or you can kind of falter and end up in a dark, deep ditch. So it just all depends on how you handle circumstances. Yeah. And I have to say, in life, I've been handed a lot of circumstances where I could have either faltered or flourished, and I always chose to flourish.
That's amazing. Yeah, you have to. You know, even in the hardest moments, to flourish is always, even if it doesn't seem like the right choice at the time, always comes to be that right choice, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard because in the moment, it's so easy to say that, but then in the moment when you find yourself in situations, your other part of your brain just tells you to do or maybe want something else, right?
And that goes back to your fight or flight mechanism too, yeah. Which is your central nervous system and all of the biology, and we'll get into that another time. But,
I love it.
I'm kind of gonna intervene into a story,
sure.
Right? But I want to preface it with, and this is something that may surprise you, Joe. I never had a relationship with my dad my whole life. We argued, fought, never saw eye to eye. We never got along. It was like ice in the house when we walked past each other. So I'm gonna the shock in your face.
Wait. Well, the shock in my face because so of course there's always things in secrets in people's lives, right, that we don't know, even if it's family or a best friend. There's stuff we choose not to share. But the shock in the face is because meeting your dad and knowing your dad and seeing you two when you're together, I would never have actually expected that at all. But that's incredible. So you said there was just a lot of fighting, a lot of just two different personalities. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we can kind of go with that.
Yeah, okay.
Two different personalities, or maybe just alike in too many ways too.
Oh, okay. Almost. All right. So
stubborn, hard-headed.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that one before.
So it took a life-altering moment for my dad and I to have a bond. And it goes back to I was in an abusive relationship for about 2 years.
Holy shit.
And I'm not going to mention names, but I am going to, I do also want to note that there is a domestic violence phone number that if anyone wants to contact or reach out, they're there to help. It's 800-799-7233. So if anyone is suffering or having trouble, just reach out. They're there to help. So I was in an abusive relationship for about 2 years. This person isolated me from my family. It was not only mental abuse, it was physical abuse. And there was a moment, where I was isolated. I had nobody, and I thought I was worthless, and it was nothing. It was probably one of the lowest points of my life. And he picked me up and he put me against the wall. And I remember not being able to breathe, just being held there and thinking, I don't deserve this. Why am I putting myself through this? Why am I letting this happen? Why, I'm a better person. I deserve better. And that was a life-altering moment. And he left the apartment. And I remember just locking the door and thinking, okay, my next move, I got to get out of here. This is it. This is my break moment. I'm not doing this anymore. And I called my mom. And she was like, I knew you'd make the right choice. I knew you'd eventually come home. And my mom couldn't fly. And my dad and I had no relationship at this point. He just didn't understand. And a lot of people don't, when you're in an abusive relationship, they're like, why can't you just walk away? Why can't you just, leave? Why? And it's so much more than that,
I'm sorry to interrupt, because that was actually going to be a follow-up question. What was, and not to antagonize, but just what was keeping you there? What was the mentality at the time to keep you there?
He was a narcissist.
Okay.
So he told me that I was nothing without him. I deserved nothing. I was useless. And then, they'd go through the cycle of abuse. And then they'd apologize for what they did, and they'd come home with flowers, and then they'd make you, they'd build you up, and they'd bring you into this great place, and then they'd start all over again. And it was just this vicious cycle, and it's hard to break out of that cycle. It causes a lot of trauma. I spent a long time in therapy. I was diagnosed with PTSD from it. But again, I never, ever, ever, ever went back, and I taught myself that I deserve better. And it took a long time. A long time.
Yeah, for sure.
But going back to the story, I called my dad, or called my mom, and my mom can't fly, so my dad came to get me. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous. I was shocked, oh, my dad's coming? Hold on. Hold the phone. Maybe I should just get home by myself. But no, they got the first flight that they could. And I remember what a coward he was. Not my father, the abuser. He hid in the bedroom.
Wow.
He wouldn't face my dad. He wouldn't say goodbye to me. Mind you, the apartment was in my name. The car was in my name. I was the person who paid for everything, but I still was stuck in this situation. And I just remember packing my car to the brim with everything that I had. And then my dad and I got in the car and we drove across the country. So the story that I tell people why I ended up in Arizona was I took a road trip and decided to stay. But really, I found myself in a bad situation and couldn't leave for a long time until I developed that strength. And that road trip home with my dad changed my whole life.
Yeah.
Changed my relationship with my father, changed my relationship with myself, changed my relationship with my family. Mm-hmm. It really, that situation was a couple life-altering moments for me. It was I deserve respect. I deserve decency. I deserve love. I deserve so many things. And I had lots of deep conversations with my dad during that period, and lots of understanding and bonding, and we really came out on top, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I would go through it again just to have that relationship with my dad.
Wow. I just want to say thank you for sharing your story, because that definitely isn't an easy thing to do, right? Especially something so personal, so dear to yourself, right? Something in which you think, like, you know, you said it yourself, like, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this, right? Yeah, of course, you do not deserve that at all. And for you to share that shows, you know, how you've grown as someone. I'm very sorry that happened. I like you said before the show off air, you said there's going to be a couple things that you tell me that you wanted to see the reaction. I had no fucking idea. And I'm just very sorry. And I'm very happy though that you were able to, two things. One, take a positive spin to it, right? For such a negative situation. And two, it led to a nice relationship with your father. Because like I said before, now hearing the story, bro, hearing it before now, like, when I said I couldn't imagine that, because I see you with your father now, and it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Like, daddy was there to protect, right? You know, you may not have, or may not have had the best relationship with him, but he's always your father, right? He loves you. He's gonna be there to fucking fight. And and yo, men, I don't know, none of you that are listening to this show are like that, like the ex-boyfriend, but you never fucking lay a hand on a woman. That's something, and I think if I have any young listeners, you never fucking do that. It's not fucking strong.
Yeah, I feel like even if it was like 30 degrees in here, like I'm just feeling myself get all fired up. I was like,
yo, shit, right?
Like, it's something that doesn't register of like, how could you possibly be able to do that?
Yeah, exactly, right? It's
but
crazy.
you have to remember too, abuse goes two ways.
Oh,
Women abuse men
no,
too.
No, for sure.
You
Absolutely,
know?
absolutely.
Which is crazy. I mean, but at the same time, anything's possible. You just have to remember to be there and support people, and not drop them when they need you most.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was the day he swept in and was just like, now I'm needed. You know, he'd sit in the back, he'd watch, like, let her handle what she's got to do, and then all of a sudden you're just like, super dad coming out. You know?
Right, legitimately.
And that's when your fire lit as well.
Yeah.
Like, you're always that spark, and he always threw water on it, right? Always threw water on it. And then that one day, the kindling caught, and then as the fire went, that's when your life began, on your way home with your dad.
Yeah, I really do believe that too, because I always say, you wouldn't be the person you are today without the things that you go through, right?
Very true, yeah.
So like, everything that you go through kind of builds you for what's next in your life, right? So that time period, I found like a lot of self-love, and spent a lot of time alone, and you just kind of like develop yourself into your person. I was working as a respiratory therapist in an LTAC facility when I lived in Arizona, and I came home and I started working at a couple different hospitals. I came home, 2019?
2019, is that when you and Nick, that summer, right? The summer, yeah, 2019 summer is when you and Nick, for those you don't know, is my brother.
My lovely, darling husband.
Chris's husband, exactly.
That would have been a pop quiz for my wife. When did we meet?
So I came home in November 2018.
Yeah, okay.
And then cool. God, talk about prayer, right? So, as you know, you were at our wedding. Our song was Pray For You.
Yes.
And it's almost as if, when you vision boards, right?
Yes.
So you constantly are visualizing, you're seeing something. Like, I kept praying, and I was like, I want someone who's good and wholesome and loving and makes me laugh and understanding, and it took a while, but he showed up.
Well, no, legit, yo. So the whole thing about that vision, well, I love that you say that. So the concept of the vision board is everything you just said, right? And then you don't expect it, and then it pops up randomly, right? At some point. But that's the thing, it's got to take a little bit of a while, right? Because if God is, or universe, whoever you want to say, God, I think they're interchangeable. If God is going to give you that which you want to manifest, or a person that you want to manifest, he hears everything that you say, right? And he's like, okay, now I got to make the magic work, right? It's not like he makes the magic work, you walk outside and you meet someone. But that's really fucking cool. Like, I didn't know that you had made made a vision board for that. Like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I save my vision boards actually.
Yo,
So I
really?
have envelopes full of my vision boards.
So should you write them down and you put them in an envelope?
Well, I do pictures. I'm a picture person.
Awesome.
So,
You're a visual learner.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Same here.
So I had a picture of a house that almost resembles ours.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God.
I believe it. But
I'll have to pull out because I still have it. I'll pull it out. I love Louis Vuitton. I'm a Louis Vuitton girl. I had a picture of a Louis Vuitton luggage, which I now have.
Nice. Nice. I love it.
Back when I was trying to pass my respiratory exam, I had like a check mark with a pass because when you pass, like it literally comes up with big pass letters and a check mark.
You gave me fucking chills right now. I love it.
So all these things like they kind of come to life. I mean, but something else I know that you mentioned we wanted to just talk a little bit about is working in a hospital during COVID.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to go through that, because I know there was a lot of stuff that you were like at the time you were saying, but you couldn't really say to them like during like to your superiors, I guess, the doctors. But I definitely think that's something as comfortable as you want to go, as much as you want to go into it. You know the show, though. We're scandalous. So
I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm not gonna say too little. So
Got it.
We'll kind of dive into it for a hot minute.
Sure.
So I didn't work entirely during COVID. I worked during the beginning of COVID, and I worked during a period where we didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. The doctors were like, you're the vent master, like figure it out, make this person breathe, seeing a lot of death and just very like just terrible things. And I do want to say now the pandemic's over officially after 2, 3.
Oh yeah, did you see that? That literally just came. I had a friend just send me that, right? And it's like, oh, the CDC finally said the pandemic's over literally just now. It's like, dude, you're like 3 years behind. Like, I don't know, you're 3 years behind, man.
Joe's gonna let us know when it's over.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck yeah. But continue.
But it was hard because I have inner values that kind of come from my experience, and just treat people the way you want to be treated. Like treat people with dignity, treat people with kindness, treat people, and I'm definitely not the same person that I used to be. Mm-hmm. But when it came to my job, it was so important for me to treat every patient like my grandfather. For example, or my mom or a family or a sibling. When I worked in LTAC community, I was experiencing my first death with a patient, right? And I just remember sitting by his side and holding his hand, and like my coworker saying, like, he's gonna die, just like let him go, just let it be, So I remember doing everything that I could, but eventually we just had to let him go. So that coworker taught me to tie a knot in a sheet and open the window. In every hospital, you can't open a window, but basically that like lets their spirit free, right? Mm-hmm. So during COVID, there was so much death, I feel like, and I feel that every hospital handled it differently, but a lot of hospitals didn't know what to do, and there's always a better way to handle something.
Yeah.
You gotta hear people out, right? So I saw a lot of end of life because I was either pulling a lot of tubes out, doing a lot of CPR, or, something that they were doing that I really personally didn't agree with was they were taking the patients off ventilators and letting them breathe through the ET tube with a filter on the end. And right, in theory, that was stopping the spread, right? But that's not letting someone die with dignity. That's letting someone die while breathing through a straw.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like,
and I remember I had a whole floor of patients like that. And I couldn't, with my values, sit there and be like, that's okay? That's okay to let someone die like that? No, it wasn't, you know? And then we were in charge of, and mind you, we were short-staffed. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that you could do at that point. But we were in charge of so many people. And the other thing that was getting to me was, what if I'm here and I'm needed there and someone dies because I can't get to them?
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
A lot of things that I was beginning to be like, I don't think I can live with myself if I continue to do this. And mind you, I had a my grandma was really sick at home at the time, and I wanted to take care of her too, and not bring the spread home and all that. And so I made a choice. I remember walking in one day and seeing my assignment and being like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not walking through this anymore. I can't. Like, I can't watch people die. I can't watch this morbidity. I can't watch, do something that I disagree with.
Right.
And feel morally right. I
know. Yep.
So I was like, I'm sorry, I quit.
Hey, I mean, don't be sorry. You made the right decision because, and correct me if I'm wrong, the people who were telling you to do to take off the ventilators and breathe through the tubes, weren't those doctors, like head doctors, right, that don't know and don't have the knowledge that an RT would have, a respiratory therapist, because there's two different technicalities there, right?
So any doctor would know that breathing through an ET tube, which is, so literally like breathing through a straw, would know that that's like suffocating someone, right?
Yeah.
But the doctors weren't making the rules. Typically, the advisors, people who don't have medical experience, are the ones making the rules and the protocols in the hospitals. People who usually, I'm not going to say all, don't, they're administrators, right? Some the head dogs, and it kind of goes to something else, right? So we were working in hospitals, and a lot of the times patients would die, and then all of a sudden there's a sign on the door that said they died from COVID.
Even if they didn't.
Even if they didn't.
Oh, okay. I know where this is going, but I'll keep going.
Yeah.
So even if they didn't, right? So I mean, I saw it a couple times. I can't validate it.
Okay.
But I saw it.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I was treating that patient. They weren't a COVID patient. They were a pneumonia patient. I was in that room. Now you had to sign the door, go get tested. It was a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, I pondered, because I know the hospitals were getting money for, patients being COVID, right? Well, I found this article, and I have to kind of bring it up.
Hell yeah, bring it up. And that's good for you. Yeah, fuck yeah, bring it up. Bring up the sources. All those people are like, source? Yeah, well, here's your source.
Well, it's rarediseases.org. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's for a different conversation. It's kgns.tv /government pay hospitals more money. And you can add this into whatever. But
sure.
They say, and I'm just going to quote it, for instance, hospitals Medicare patients with pneumonia with COVID, without COVID is worth about $77,000 to a hospital. But with COVID, that reimbursement jumps to $92,000. A Medicare patient with acute respiratory distress syndrome requiring a ventilator, so that's a respiratory therapist, that's a whole nother ballgame, and a doctor and a team, without COVID is about $34,000. Now that depends on the hospital, and it depends on the location, right? But with COVID, the Medicare patient's now worth over $40,000.
Worth, as if you're signing a value to a human life, right?
Well,
No, I understand what you're saying, but it's crazy how they think about that.
And that's a day. Yeah. That's not a hospital stay. That's a day.
Yeah.
Days worth of a ventilator treatment, right?
Yeah.
So their reasoning, and they go into saying it was for PPE. Well, where was the PPE? Where my mask was being, sent through I can't think of pregnancy brain.
The ringer?
The light, to
UV.
You'd wear it for 7 days, and then they hang them all in a room, and then they, get rid of the germs. But as we know, it deteriorated the mask. It made the holes in the mask bigger, right? So, and we were reusing PPE, and it was just a hot mess, the whole situation. And there's not one person you can place blame on. There's a whole lot of blame to place, right? But really, where was that $7,000 going?
Yeah, no. Well, so I mean, it's a good rhetorical question. My answer, and this is my opinion, is that it's going right back to the hospital for new supplies, et cetera, et cetera. They're using it to make money, right? Now you'll have basically what you're saying is you'll have people be like, oh, COVID was the final, because I've heard this argument before, right? We were saying like, okay, your patient had pneumonia, but COVID killed him. Okay, so we're gonna use that logic. Because, and this is a CDC YouTube. This is a CDC fact that you can go on their website. You have to go through billions of clicks, but you find it. It's the table where about what is it, like 2.9 or is it 3.9 of comorbidities on the average of the patient that died from COVID. So literally with COVID, not from COVID. So people will argue, well, COVID was the underlying factor that killed him. Okay, so let's use that logic and let's do cancer patients. No one died from cancer in the world then, that means, right? If you're going to use that logic. They died from a cold. They died from a headache. They died whatever, right?
That gunshot wound was COVID.
The gunshot wound was COVID, exactly. The people who fell were COVID, right? Yes. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy how you were. Imagine going through, I'm trying to visualize this. You as a respiratory therapist, right? You develop a relationship with a patient. Okay, that patient becomes close to you. You know the patient's underlying conditions. You know what they're suffering from. They die, right? They pass on, and now you see the hospital trying to make money off of them, which is what you're speculating, right?
I'm speculating.
But I think you're on the money, right? That's just what I'm saying. But I know that everyone has their own opinion. I think you're on the money. But imagine that psychological like bullshit where now you just lost a friend essentially, right? Depending on how close you were with the patient, right? And boom, now the hospital's trying to make money off of them. And it's a mind fuck.
It is because, they were offering, where I was working, they were offering hazard pay for a really long time too.
What's hazard pay? Hazard
pay is like a pandemic. So when a pandemic is happening, they offer you hazard pay, right? So it's an increase in your hourly wage because the environment is so hazardous.
Yeah, hazardous. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they weren't for a long time, and it really was terrible because we weren't getting PPE, we weren't getting masks. I remember like running to Home Depot, like begging them to put masks aside for me because I wasn't getting them at work. And I remember an instance where I was working in the COVID ED, and I had to put a patient on a ventilator, but there was no ventilator left in the ED. So I had to go down to the respiratory unit and pray to God that there was a ventilator there for the patient that we just intubated.
Jesus Christ.
And I remember vividly there was one left when I got down there in the situation. And I remember running through the hallways and people were clapping and like moving out of my way. And, like I was a hero, but I never felt like a hero.
Like you felt like there was something missing. Or not missing, there was something wrong, I should say.
Yeah, I just felt like there was something wrong, in the whole situation. And my morals led me to, like I said, walk in and quit, which goes back to our life-altering moment.
Yeah. So what how'd that feel when you decided to finally quit? Because absolutely two completely different circumstances of seeing death, one not seeing death, but the idea of quitting a job that you thought was going to be the forever job, right, that you were doing.
That I busted my ass for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. You definitely did. So what's going through your mind? Take us to what's going through your mind at that point where you leave.
Initially, I was relieved.
Yeah, right?
I was like, all right, like I don't have to do this anymore. Like I can be free. I can breathe again. I don't have to work 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I can, see my family and not be like mentally, physically, completely exhausted. I mean, because I do have to say, all the healthcare workers that decided to stay, I give you a hell of a lot of credit. I do. Because, you stayed in a situation that was, maybe you didn't agree with it. Maybe you did agree with it. But still, it was mentally, physically exhausting. Yeah. So, I give everyone that stayed the benefit of the doubt and, all the credit in the world. But for me, it just wasn't worth it. Yeah. So I remember driving home and like bawling my eyes out.
Tears of relief or
So yes, initially tears of relief, and then you go, oh shit, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, how am I gonna pay my bills?
Yeah,
you know,
it's almost like a slow, like at first, and then you just get fucking hit right, like a right hook right to the face.
Yes. No.
No. Yeah. Exactly. Literally like that. That's great.
So I was like, I'm not someone who lets grass grow under my feet. Like I always have a plan B. Or,
Yeah.
You know, and at that time, I didn't have a plan B. I remember just being like, all right, you know, I went to college for this. I passed all these tests. I took all this time. I thought this was going to be my career. Like I thought I was going to teach eventually, you know, like my whole life just turned upside down within seconds. For sure. So I started doing research. I wanted to stay in healthcare in its own essence, but I wanted to see people smile. I wanted to see people through, because at that point I had seen a lot of death, you know, and I wanted something different. So I was like, oh, you know, looking into all these different fields and this and that, and eventually it led me to dental. So
awesome. I
found a program, accelerated program, took me 3 months, and I got through that, and I ended up in the dental field, which I loved because what I didn't know at first was not everyone likes the dentist. But I loved making people feel better about being there.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome.
You know, and I loved the people that I worked with. I loved, you know, the 9 to 5. Like, what? I went from working 12-hour night shifts to like 7:30 to 5 o'clock. Like, what is this life? Like, it was a whole nother life.
The land of the living.
Literally. Because I was like Walking Dead. I was like,
that's great.
When I started dating Nico, he didn't understand. He was like, because I dated him when I was still in respiratory, and we went on one of our first dates, and he was feeding me tequila shots. I was like, look, like, I just woke up like 2 hours ago. Like, you have to understand.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. We're going to get back to the story. I just want to pick out the point where my brother is feeding you tequila shots. Now, how was he doing it? And what tequila was he using?
We were bowling, so I don't remember what tequila it was. But
he was definitely trying to make you lose. For sure.
But I was kicking his ass.
You are? Let's go. Yo, you kidding? You lost in bowling, Nick? No, I'm kidding. I love you. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. But so I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I just, like, this is not my breakfast.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's fucking
some vodka in your Cheerios.
Literally, let's start the day. But I ended up in the dental field, and I just, like, I loved it. I flourished. I got my CDA. I got my RDA. You know, and I was doing really well in the office that I was in, and I just loved my job. And then I got married, and then I got pregnant. And which is such a blessing, because I never thought I would be able to have kids. But I'm so lucky and so fortunate to be able to say that I'm pregnant.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Good.
With a healthy baby so far.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. My niece coming up, your daughter, I love that. But you said something there. What was the reasoning why you thought you would never be able to get pregnant?
Another life-altering.
Okay.
So I, at a young age, suffered from really bad stomach problems, right? So I spent a lot of time in the hospital. And every time I went to the hospital, and this is, you know, they would do the same thing. They'd send me for an x-ray. They'd send me for an MRI. They'd give me medication. Then they'd give me fluids. And I was there like twice a month. Like, the nurses in the ED knew me. And eventually...
Yeah.
Like, you can't see that they just did this 2 weeks ago. But ultimately, a doctor walked in, and I'll never forget this moment. I was 15 years old, and I was laying in bed, and I was just puking. And I was hooked up to an IV, and he looks at me, he goes, you know, you've had so much radiation that I don't think you're going to be able to have kids.
What?
At 15 years old, right? So your whole life is ahead of you, really.
Fuck.
And it never left me. It's something that was always in the back of my head, and it's a conversation I had with Nico before we got married. Like, look, I don't know that I'm going to be able to have kids. Like, I just want you to know that.
Wow.
So that's stuck with me this whole time, right? And when we finally got pregnant, I just was like I didn't think it was real. Like, it was a surreal moment.
Yeah.
Because it was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? Like, I was told, I'm 27 now. I was told 12 years ago that I would not be able to have kids.
Yeah.
And here I am looking at a positive pregnancy test, and I was like,
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Right? I know. Yeah. Fuck. Dude, that's incredible. Oh my God. Imagine having to hear that at 15 years old, especially because as humans, right, we grow up and we want kids. That's a natural thing. That's innate in us, but more so for the mother than the father, right? So for a young girl to hear that, is that something that did that bother you for the longest time? Is that something you had to sort of mentally like work on to convince yourself, okay, everything's going to be okay? Or is that something that actually like hit you for the longest time?
I don't think it ever really left me, to be honest.
Okay.
Because when I got home after that, with my dad after the abusive relationship, I said to myself, I'm okay being alone. I'm going to be a career woman. And if I can't have kids, then I can't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a moment of acceptance for myself. It was like, okay, like this is my life, and that's okay. It may not have been the way that I had planned, but I'm going to flourish at it regardless.
Yeah.
And, I was lucky enough to meet, Nico, Nikki, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call him.
So for those of you who are listening and know my brother, my brother's name is Nick, and Nico is a name that came from all the soccer friends like Anthony and his father. And then when you met him, they were calling him Nico, like Dante, Enzo, all of them, right? Yep. So like me and Paul, Ashley, Mike, Paul and Mike were on the show. We all call him Nick. He's Nick or Magone. Magone, really, okay? He's Magone. Yeah, he's Magone. Magone. And so then when you started calling Nico, like, now it's fine for me. When you say, oh, yeah, Nico's here, I'm like, all right, it's Nick. But, like, I can't get myself. I like the name. I think the name is a sick name. I think Nico's a cool name. I can't get myself to call him Nico. It's just, for me, it's Nick.
Well, you've known him
as
Nick for the longest time.
Yeah, it's funny. Nikki's more so if my mom is talking to him. If me, it's Nick, and you, Nico. I love that.
For me, if I'm mad, it's Nicholas Joseph Magone.
Nicholas Joseph Magone.
The full name, run.
I think I've done that once.
You know what you should tell him? You know what you should call him? If you ever get mad at him again, call him NJM Juventino. That's his Instagram handle. Please, that would lighten up the situation too. Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
I have to say, I very seldom get mad at my husband.
No. But I'm just saying that'd be funny. Yeah. Nikki is Nick. That's awesome. Dude, this is incredible. All the stories you're telling me. You were not lying when you said there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna tell and you want to see that. How do you feel? Hold on. I want to ask this question because I've asked this question a couple of times on the show when people reveal secrets of theirs, right? And secrets is, personal things. How do you feel revealing it to, public?
I was nervous.
Yeah.
I remember, like, when you asked me to be on the show, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? I'm not an interesting person. Like I have nothing to share. And then I was like, and then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to own who I am as a person, I might as well just share it with the world, right?
I love that.
So this is me. This is who I am. This is what I've been through. And if you can't understand or accept that, that's probably why we're not, friends, or you're not in my life. But I'm here to, love the people that are in my life, welcome new people into my life, and hopefully people learn from my experience too.
Absolutely. No. And that's why it's incredible. I love that. Like, you own who you are, right? And you said in the beginning too, you had to have two choices, fight or flight. You chose to fight, right? Yeah. And that's why you are the person you are today.
You flourished.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Actually, going back to that though, a couple of things I want to say. One, yeah, it's cool. I can feel that you're much like lighter now, right? It's cool. A lot of people don't want to say their, and of course it's their personal life, right? There's a lot of things that people go through that they think that there's a defect. It's not. It's what makes you, like you said, it makes you who you are.
And it does.
Yeah.
You just have to embrace it. You know, there are so many different, things in life that we choose to hide instead of embrace, and you just have to embrace who you are and love yourself wholly. I mean, and I'm not saying it's easy.
No, it's definitely not. Dude.
And I'm not saying it happens, over time. But if you can take the time to just accept and love yourself, then no one else can look at you and be like, you're not good enough. Because you're good enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people need to spend more time with themselves and become best friends with yourself first. And then that way, like I was saying last week, you know, you look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm awesome.
Yeah. I've been using that sort of, a variation of that technique. It's been working, yeah.
Yep.
I personally like the Superman pose.
Yeah, there you go.
I've never seen that one.
Because it's supposed to give you confidence if you
Yeah.
stand in
Shoulders
Superman pose
back.
for 60 seconds.
You know, there's a thing, because you mentioned Superman, so I'm like a movie buff sort of thing. So actually in the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves, there's a scene where he's acting as Clark Kent, right? Talking to Lois, and he actually acts the way he is. And then he transitions into Superman, and all he has to do is lean back and straighten up. And like you see it. There's a scene in it.
That's actually interesting. Yeah, dude. Every time I tell myself that too, and like you just reminded me, I need to fucking sit up straight.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys mentioned at one point, you know, stand up straight and look forward, not down.
Not down. Yeah, that's a big one.
And then always just tell yourself, you know, I'm awesome, happy, healthy, and awesome is what I always do. I'm happy, healthy, and awesome. All my friends are happy, healthy, awesome. Family, happy, healthy, and awesome. And then it just puts you in a better mood. And also, you know, you don't talk down to yourself in any way. Because when I was talking about you last week, you were talking about you kind of have a conference call with yourself. It's like, no, you can't do it that way. You have to kind of build yourself up, and then, you know, of course it helps with different circumstances, like yourself, you know, going through hard times. For myself, going through hard times, you got to bring yourself up from, I mean, I spat at the mirror at one point. I couldn't even look at myself at one point. Not that what I did, it's just what I felt other people thought of me.
Yeah, but see, that's what's the word I'm looking for? That's a fallacy. Like, and I'm not saying that you're a fallacy. I'm saying that
no, it is.
It's like such a wrong mentality, and it doesn't make you wrong as a person. It's just, it's not true.
Well, you know, it's a seed that gets planted.
Yeah.
It grows, and the more you hear it, the more it grows. And then, like, for you to talk about all that stuff today, I'm sure it's just like, you know, it's just a weight off the shoulders. But I was also going to say, too, like, it depends on what happens to certain people, because a lot of people go through times going, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Like, they start erasing the book that they wrote and try to, like, word it a different way. And it just, but yeah, anyway, just, you got to get over that and just start giving the positive. And I always say, become your best friend first, and then that way it just, you start seeing everything that's, and all those that are trying to hurt you, I guess, if that makes any sense. And then, you know, even if it doesn't come out as bad, but like for me, like it's way not what you went through, you know, nothing like that. But you know, that way you can see, like, oh, like, for instance, I have a bigger brother, right? So obviously growing up, it was always like, I'm the best, you suck, right? I mean, you joke about it now, but in the end, you really think, like, what the heck? But it's the same thing. Like, you just kind of be like, all right, well, he was just joking, obviously, you know, or he throws it at you and be like, ha, ha, ha. Because sometimes people will take that at heart. And like you said, it's like a seed. It just starts growing. So the more you hear it, the more it's going to grow.
Yeah. Well, they say, too, if you're told something enough, you begin to believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like that. Right? Exactly. And that's, my things were like that, too. Not to go on my stuff. But, you know, like, I have the experience in that way. So, but once I started looking at myself in the mirror, I had more alone time. I was living alone, bought my own house and that sort of thing. You start becoming your best friend. You start talking yourself up, and you realize, like, all that was just bullshit. You know, it's just kid stuff mostly, and whatever.
Yeah.
But it lingers with you.
It still does. It really still does. It's just, but it's just something that you kind of have to find your own way of getting over it, not getting over, but I don't know.
It's sort of like what you said. It's like you just love yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds.
I know.
It sounds foo-poo. Lovers. No, but like, dude, if you don't have to, like, you just got to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is the what I like about myself. This isn't what I like about myself. What I don't like about myself isn't necessarily horrible, but this is what I can do to, you know, get rid of that or improve. Right? Be better. That's it. That's all self-love is, right? It's not phooey, dude. It's like, all right, if you want to stay miserable, go ahead and stay miserable.
Be in that situation.
Like, you know, you see what you want. But one thing I want to, did you have something else to add upon that?
No, that was perfect. Exactly. And just talk up about yourself and take all those small accomplishments. Doesn't matter what it is. Be like, hey, I was able to buy my first lobster tonight.
That's awesome.
Go me.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like that, like something like that. Like, oh, I nailed that interview, and hey, someone smiled at me today. That's pretty awesome. You know,
Yeah,
especially if
fuck
you
yeah.
thought you weren't good looking, and then all of a sudden, like, someone smiled at you, and you're like, oh, wow, hey, you know,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
It's perfect. Yeah, and another thing too, while saying all this, right, we're giving advice and giving what you should do, and it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It's not easy. Oh no, it's not easy, because even after the full year of all this stuff I've been trying to do, there are still times recently too where it's just like you get in your own fucking head. You start telling yourself lies, and it takes, and even if other people tell you the opposite, you just can't believe it. So that's why it's like where you need to be, like, you need to take control of your mind.
You're the hero of your own story.
Yeah.
There's a book, and I think I passed it to you, called The Power of Positive Thinking.
Was it The Power of Positive
It
Thinking?
had a red cover, yellow border on it.
Wasn't that this? You passed The Secret to me.
Oh, I did pass it.
Yes, which was a phenomenal book.
do like that book.
Yes, with The Power of Positive Thinking.
The Power of Positive Thinking, there's a quote from it, and it's, I relinquish all nervous excitement. It is flowing from me. I am at peace. And whenever I used to find myself getting anxious about thoughts I was having about myself, or thinking about someone else having thoughts about me, or feeling negative, I'd close my eyes. I'd say that to myself over and over again, and I'd visualize this negative energy leaving me, just leaving my body, and then finding my inner peace. And eventually, if you, like I said, you say something to yourself enough, you begin to believe it. And I would recommend anyone try that, because. And then another thing, if it's not going to matter in 5 minutes, is it going to matter in 5 years?
I like that.
That
If
was
it's
a
not
good
going to
one,
matter in
yeah.
5 minutes,
So
yeah.
if something's really bothering you and you're like, is this going to matter in 5 minutes or 5 years? Like, you know, you find ways to, like, reason with your inner demons and say things to yourself. And these mantras, yes, they sound stupid. Yes, it is bizarre to sit there and say something to yourself in a way. But, like, if it finds you inner peace and it brings you to a better place, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, literally. No, that's actually a really good. It's a really good thought. This episode is a perfect timing too. I have to say, this episode is perfect timing. Here's something I want to expand upon. So we just said, like, remedies, right? But I want to take it now full circle.
Okay.
Let's go back to that first, that horrific incident of the abusive relationship, right? And you said you chose to not fight. You chose to overcome. Okay, so let's just say
Flourish, Joe.
Flourish, yes, flourish. Overcome, flourish. Let's just say one of our listeners is going through something similar. Hopefully not. Let's just say one of our listeners is going through another type of trauma, right? Where it may not be the same, but feeling the same way. What were some of the things that you did to get over that, or to flourish?
I'm going to be frank with you. The first thing I did when I got home was lay on the couch for a solid 3 weeks and sit in my sorrows.
Okay.
I'm not ashamed of it. It's something I needed to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once I got off the couch, I got myself in therapy, and I said, this is what I need to do. That was a really low time in my life. Yeah, I got out of the situation, but mentally I was still there, which was really hard. But the next thing that I did was, there were a lot of relationships that I had that kind of went south because they didn't understand. So I went to each person and I said, I want you to tell me how I made you feel. I want to make this better.
Yeah.
So I found that I had hurt a lot of people while I was being hurt. So as I mended my relationships with my friends, I was mending a relationship with myself. You know, like I said, I don't like grass growing on my feet. 3 weeks for me is a long time to be down.
Well, for sure, yeah.
But I got into a class and I started taking a class, and I just started doing things. You know, I had to transfer my respiratory license to the state of New Jersey, so I was waiting for that to happen. And in the meantime, I was just reminding myself that I deserve to be loved the way that I love, the way that I give, the way that I respect others, the way, you know, I want what I put out into the world in return.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Love that.
So a lot of things it was hard, but mentally it took a lot of time to find a center in myself. And I remember rereading The Power of Positive Thinking during that time.
Nice. And that's where you relinquish all.
And it's something I just kept saying to myself over and over and over
That's
again.
true.
And I spent time really finding my inner peace, finding regrounding myself into a job and regrounding myself into relationships, and slowly, just developing as a person and learning that what happened to me wasn't, I don't really know how to say this, wasn't such a negative thing.
I think I see what you're... So I think I see where you're going with that, right? That there's always a silver lining almost, so to speak, right? That at the time it's horrible, right? And of course, it shouldn't happen, and it shouldn't have happened to you. But like you said in the beginning, it made you who you are, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's the growth, right? That's the maturity at this point.
Yeah.
You are able to not look at it with hatred, but okay, this is what happened, and this is how I grew from it.
And I think you really have to pull the positives from life. There are so many negative things that we go through on a daily basis. But if we just remember the positives and pull the positives from every situation, like, you can become so powerful, if you just see the light. Because remember, if you constantly say negative things to yourself, you're going to be in a negative mood. You're going to let off negative energy. You're going to attract negative people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
My mom growing up always said to me, "You are who you hang out with."
Yeah,
I hear her in my head all the time, like little things that she says to
You're
me.
the average of like, what is it? You're the average of like the 5 people you hang out with or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I wanted, and I do now, I surround myself with very like positive upbringing people. Like, I say positive things to myself. I think positively. I try to pull the silver linings from situations. And it's not easy to get into that mindset, but once you're there, life gets a lot easier to live in.
Right.
Absolutely.
From that relationship, I can say that I gained a relationship with my father, which I thank God for every day, because
Absolutely.
it changed my life to have that bond. I always wondered who would walk me down the aisle when I got married, which is a big thing when you're a girl, to have your father walk you down the aisle. And I always said it would be my mom, but when the moment came, I was like, I feel like he deserves this honor.
Absolutely. He came back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I gained self-love and self-respect. And
Self-love, self-respect.
and something that was really, really hard for me to do, going back to the situation, is I got a restraining order. And I defended myself in court.
Oh, you defended yourself?
I defended myself in court. So
You got a future, defense lawyer, right?
No, well, I just represented myself, and it wasn't easy, because you have to sit there, and when the other person's talking, you just want to scream out, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Right,
but
yeah.
I kept my composure, and that's something that taught me, just hold your grace.
Yes.
And you can speak when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was big too.
Mm-hmm. Hold your grace, speak when you're ready. It's like they say the one who talks the most is like the least knowing or something. Like the one who listens is the, and it works in that case because, and like you said, if you remain calm, then you're able to gather your thoughts. Mm-hmm. So that was key. That was clutch.
I heard the divorce story that went horribly wrong for the lady because she lost her cool and she didn't show up sober, let's put it that way.
Oh, wow.
You get reactive. And that gets you nowhere. Mm-hmm. Being reactive, just jumping down someone's throat, right? Like, I was like that for my entire life. I was just, I didn't listen. I reacted. And I was, I just didn't let someone finish, and I was like, you know what, no, that's not right, not how it's going to be. But that taught me to listen entirely and then react.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that was a good life lesson too.
That's an important life lesson. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
for sure.
but the thing I want to mention, the thing about restraining orders is every state's different. Mm-hmm. New Jersey, luckily enough, they last a lifetime unless you revoke it, but other states, they only last a year.
Oh, wow.
So make sure if that's something that you're going through, that you follow through with the process.
So then you have to just keep constantly renewing. Oh my God, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I know, they should make that better.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? It's almost like they're trying to make money off of it. Do you pay each time you have to renew or no?
No.
I don't want to speak. Okay, never mind.
No.
I take that back. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. All right.
As far as we know, that's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting, man. All right, so this is incredible. Your story is absolutely inspiring, incredible, and you said that you hope that you want to inspire someone when you that was the reason for coming on, right? And saying it, you definitely did. There's definitely people that are going through something that have definitely felt better now listening to your story. But now let's turn the attention to something more positive. You had mentioned you're pregnant, so let's go. You're what? You're 7.5 months pregnant.
8 months.
8 months. 30, 32. Well, 4 weeks in a month. 33 weeks.
33 weeks.
Let's go. Baby's coming, baby. Let's go. Oh man.
Oh God. Well, on a lighter note, I'll start off with this and then I'll go into something else.
Sure.
My husband, when he found out that we were pregnant, he was like, he didn't really believe it was real. It like took him a second.
This is new for me. Let's hear this.
It took him a second, right?
All right.
And it was because of my situation. I didn't want to tell people right away. I wanted to wait until the appropriate time. So like, I told my mom. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell my brother. And it was like my mom and Nico knew and I knew, and that was it. And then we waited to tell everybody, but I found out the sex. And I found out the sex by mistake. I was looking at my blood work, and it all of a sudden it says, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're having. And I was like, oh, crap.
You wanted it to be a surprise.
Well, I wanted to have that moment with him together.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a special moment to find out what you're having. And I was like, I got to call him. I got to call him right now. I can't know this and not tell him.
Sure.
So I remember calling him, and he was at the office. He's like, all right, like, I need to get into a private place. Like, let me walk away for a second. I was like, okay. So he walks away, and he gets on the phone. He's like, okay, I'm ready. He's like, should I be worried? And I said, no, don't be worried at all. He's like, okay, what is it? And in his head, I know what he's thinking, but I go, it's a girl. He goes, oh, I need a minute. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, I need a minute. And if you know my husband, then you understand he's very protective. So for him to have a girl as a first child, it took me a while, but he's really grown on it. He loves
this is hilarious. Okay.
Daddy's little girl. I came home with like a little tutu that's a daddy's little princess, and it's grown on him. I mean,
this is, especially if you know Nick and our family, this is fucking hilarious to hear that. And of course, and you know what, Nick, I didn't think any other response would come out of your mouth. That's fucking hilarious. No, of course he's gonna be an absolutely amazing father. That I have absolutely no doubt. That response is absolutely spot on, if I had to guess. Yeah, hey, it is what it is. Like I told you offline, and I when the little shoes. So we found out on Thanksgiving. Actually, they revealed that Kristen was pregnant. They're having a baby, and then they revealed the little pink shoe that came up. Right?
Oh, nice.
And right when I saw the pink shoe, I told you I turned to my dad, and I was like, New Jersey gun sales just went up for one customer, baby. No, I'm just kidding. Nice. But it's true. That's awesome. So what's this is gonna be an interesting question. What is actually, you know what? I'm going to ask one question. We had a question, and the question was really, really good. It's from Anthony, and actually, I think this is going to flow perfectly with the situation of being pregnant. So let's see what the question is.
Is this the part where Joe scrolls through?
Yeah. Actually, this is what I'm scrolling through text because but yes, damn it. Fuck.
Forgets how his phone works.
Yeah, man. I'm an old soul. What can you do today that you thought you were not capable of a year ago? Since it's almost been a year of you being pregnant, I'm sure you've probably gone through a lot of just things like, things that were easier then that are harder now because you have a human inside of you. So
yeah, and you have like a whole nother like weight. And God, what can I do today
you're feeding
that I
two
couldn't
people
do a year ago?
Yeah, and maybe let's like twist that to like what was your experience like? What's it like to be like pregnant? You're carrying another human. Like, what are your emotions? What are you going through? Like, what were your emotions in the beginning and now at the end?
Well, with some, with a girl comes a lot more hormones, right? So, I guess I'll link back to that question.
Okay.
Some pregnancies are beautiful. Some people have no problem. They work out the whole time. They stay fit.
I feel like they lie.
They're glowing, and that was not my experience.
No.
I was diagnosed with hyperemesis at about 20 weeks. And for those of you who don't know, hyperemesis is only occurs in 0.3 to 2% of pregnancies.
Holy shit.
It's defined by extreme vomiting, not just morning sickness, but extreme vomiting. I mean, I was vomiting 15 to 20 times a day.
Wow.
A day.
Holy fuck.
Right? It's defined by as, no weight gain. My first couple months of pregnancy, I did not gain a pound because I was just throwing up. And there's a couple other things, but it's hard. And with my mindset, I was like, I'm not going to let this get the best of me. I'm going to continue to live my life, so I still went to work. And I hid it for a long time from my job. I would run to the bathroom in between patients and vomit very aggressively, and
Just tell everyone it's from the tequila and my Cheerios.
Yeah. And until it got to a point where I was concerned about the baby, then I told my coworkers and things, and they started to see, they're like, oh, Kristen's got a puke, and then I'd have to start excusing myself from patients and things like that, and it became a problem. And I remember we have office meetings, which I think are great that my office did this, but we have office meetings every Monday to kind of acknowledge people and visit on what's going on and blah, 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 blah. And I'm cramping. Terrible, uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to lose this baby?
Holy shit.
I was sitting there thinking everything that I've been through so far, and we're finally pregnant, and I was like, oh my God. So I excused myself. I called the OBGYN, and she was like, you need to go to the hospital right now. So I'm thinking this is it. So I was like, I'm going to finish my day at work. This news can wait. So it was probably another hour, and I'm sitting there just shaking, thinking about the outcome. And I remember the nurse saying on the phone, no, you need to go right now. There's no waiting. And I was like, no, I'm going to finish work, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to get my husband, and we'll go together. I'll let him drive me. And I called him after I got off the phone. He's like, no, you leave right now. I said, no, I'm gonna finish work, and I'll come home, and then we'll deal with this. So they took me to the hospital, and they put me on continuous fluids. And they diagnosed me with hyperemesis at that point. I was in the hospital for about 3 days. And it's been quite the experience. I was discharged, and I've been for 2 or 3 months after that. I was on fluids for 8 hours a day, which is a full-time job when you think about it, 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And they recently decreased it to 4, but I have, for those of you who aren't going to get grossed out, I have a line in my arm for the IV so that my husband can administer treatments. So the question, I'm more powerful than I was a year ago.
Okay.
Because I didn't let the vomiting drag me down. I still try to live my life. I do my fluids, and I carry around puke bags and, in my purse, in my car, wherever I can put them. And I just function. I go out. If I have to excuse myself, I excuse myself. But I don't let this get the best of me,
That's awesome.
So I live my life regardless, to answer the question.
Love that. Yeah. That's definitely something. You have to experience it to come to that conclusion, but that's awesome. Yeah, I think an essential theme for the show is basically you either flourish or you fumble your flourish, right?
Yeah, I could sit on the couch all day and watch whatever I'm watching, or or just cry. And don't get me wrong, I've had breaking points.
We're human. You're human. You know what I mean?
I've had moments where I'm like, I'm over this. I want the IV and make it stop, and the puking. And then there are times I'm on the IV and I can't get to the bathroom. So I'm just in my puke bag, on the couch, and he goes to rub on my back. I'm just and I feel bad for him, but he's been an angel through the whole process. So
awesome. I love to hear that.
But yeah, definitely more powerful than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Mentally,
yeah.
Physically,
Yeah.
everything. So, but for those who are suffering from hyperemesis, it affects such a small amount of women, and there's not a lot of studies on it, right? So some people say it's not the hormones that cause it, but it's a gene in your body.
Oh. So that's why it's so rare. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But there's no, they haven't really found the link to it.
Yeah, there's no detection. No. Okay, got it.
But they do say that typically when it happens with one pregnancy, it happens with every pregnancy.
Oh shit, for real? Mm-hmm. Is that something like the doctor saying about the radiation and then now you're pregnant, or is that an actual fact? Like once it happens again? Again,
they don't know what causes it, so I can't say it's a fact.
Okay.
But a lot of the women that I talk to about it who have experienced it, I'd say probably 4 out of 5 experience it for their second pregnancy. There was only one person that I came across that didn't experience it.
Oh, okay.
For their second pregnancy.
Interesting. And now, because you said you had to be hooked up to the IV the whole time, right? And I remember talking to Nick throughout this whole thing. Is that something you had to have in when you're sleeping as well, or is it something that when you're asleep it's better, or were you waking up at night as well?
I was waking up at night and puking.
Oh shit!
And, I try to barter with the doctor, take me off the IV, I'll be fine. And my mom's in the corner of the room and she's like, she pukes while driving, do you think she's okay? I'm like, Mom, stop ratting me out. She's supposed to be on my side.
That's hilarious. Oh man. Well,
that's the power of women though, man.
Yeah.
When you see anyone get pregnant, I don't know, there's a whole story. I don't want to get into it because this has a nice flow to it, right? Sticking to you and your stories. But when we came home from the hospital and everything, and they came out of the NICU, the first 48 hours, because in my head, I was like, oh, well, we'll just, because I have twins, I'm just going to take the first feeding, and then when they're done, I'm going to feed this one, and it's going to be fine, right? And it's no, because they came out going, they have to have this many milliliters, whatever it was at the time. They have to, you have to sit there until they drink the whole thing. Yeah. So, you're going over time when the next one's supposed to feed it. You're up for over 48 hours straight. And this was after just, the whole week of, wondering when they're going to come out of the NICU. My wife was just, that's when you just see the power of, a mom and just women in general. She was just I got this. Go take a nap. And she just it didn't even bother her.
Yo, dude, women are the nurturers, man. You guys are the nurturers. You guys are absolutely the nurturers. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
And you've got that mama bear instinct, right? People say that, right? It's all the
100%.
instinct.
I'm
but it's true,
it's just a cough. They'll be fine. Well, that's actually croup. Oh, what is that?
Yeah.
Now we have a problem.
So is there any I don't know, any cool tips that you can give Kristen coming up on the delivery, what, because you're a father, right? So is there cool any motivation you can give?
I don't know, from my experience versus obviously my wife's was a whole different, she was going through the pain while I was just exhausted, worrying about her. That my only job was to make sure she was good, taken care of. The only thing I could say is I guess, I don't know, have expect the unexpected, if that makes any sense. Timing's just going to be, you just got to let things run its course. If for us, we're in a triage, and when you're explaining how your experience with people running around masks, we had twins during the peak of COVID, April of 2020. So it was basically just April 11th, there was nurses fighting to find masks. They put us in a triage the size of a closet for 16 plus hours because people from New York City were coming in because spouses weren't allowed in New York except for Morristown. Luckily, I was able to get in. So anyway, we already went into the fact that I might not get in, so she was already mentally prepared for that. We would have found a way, FaceTime something for me to be there. But yeah, just it's different. Like I said, I went through a whole different experience. I couldn't even hold my kids. I didn't have that, oh my God, I'm a parent moment. I just had a, what the fuck is going to happen next?
Yeah.
That, seriously, I had so the only thing I could say is just expect the unexpected. But you're gonna flourish just fine.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's gonna go perfectly awesome for you guys. And any hardships, you get through it. No matter what, as crazy as it gets, you'll get through it. You know, you guys seem like a great team. I never met your brother, but you know.
He's great. He's
yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Amazing.
And I just know you guys are gonna be a great team, and that's what it is. It's teamwork, 100% teamwork.
Yeah, for sure. No, and Nick's just the right person for that.
Exactly. So you got that down, and you'll be fine. So that's all I can say, because the rest takes its course, and everyone has their own story when it comes to it. And no matter how hard it gets, you're gonna get through it.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
So
Thank you.
Wait.
you're welcome.
I'm gonna be the fucking Funkle over here, baby.
Funkle.
I'm gonna be sleeping when she's like 4 years old. She's gonna be like, Uncle Joe, what's this wrong? I'm like, it's wine. It's Italian. You'll live to like 100. Don't worry.
You can have a little
You
bit.
can have a little bit. I'll be like, yo, I'm gonna be there with like the cigar and the sunglasses. Be like, hey, come here. You know the name? I can say the name, right?
Yeah.
Isabella. I fucking love that name.
That's awesome.
Bella Isabella.
We were gonna have, if we had daughters, because we have 2 sons, it was gonna be Bella, because I like, my last name's Brown, so it'd be Bella B.
Bella B. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bella Rose.
Bella Rose. I like that. Bella Rose Brown would be sick.
Yeah, that's a nice name. I like Bella Rose. That's very pretty.
I'm probably just gonna call her Bella. Let's see. I'll probably call her Bella the most of the time. Bella, ciao Bella. That's not gonna say the whole. That's gonna be my saying to her. I'm ciao Bella. Oh my god.
Right now she's Belly because she's in the belly.
She's in the belly.
So
Does
we
she?
call her Belly.
That's
Do you? Does she kick a lot?
Oh my god, like
all
crazy.
the time? Well, Nick was a fighter, so yeah, or
She-
likes to fight.
She's very active.
yeah.
You know, from the husband's perspective, that is a little creepy when you see the stomach just go whoop,
Yeah. That's fucking.
and then you feel it, you're like, whoa.
That's hilarious. Oh
That's
man.
pretty cool.
I could see Nick getting a soccer ball and just fucking holding her hand and letting her kick it. I can see it.
We went over that, and he might win. I want to put her in dance, and he wants her to play soccer.
Well, maybe she'll be the. Well, actually, those would work out though, because if she dances, she learns balance, and that's perfect for soccer. So there might be something there. I think that she does both. She'll be phenomenal.
There you go.
But I mean, hey, I'm only the funkle. I'm not the parent, right? So we don't know. I'm gonna be fucking signing her up for bowling and be like, hey, come here, this is Bella, come here. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna be the Funkle too, and give the kids candy and let them watch horror movies and send them back home.
on a sugar high.
Sugar high.
Hey
Bye-bye.
John, why can't my daughter or so and so fall asleep? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. That's weird. I don't know. There's
3
one over
Halloween
here.
movies just fucking stacked up. That's hilarious.
Now I'm the parent, so I can't.
Yeah, now you're about to get that shit back
Oh,
to
God.
motherfucker. That's hilarious.
So, but I
Was
would,
there something? Oh, I was gonna see if there's any other questions. That's the only reason why I'm on my phone.
the only thing I could say to other husbands out there or supportive partners, just be there for your partner. You know, expect them to be there for a long time. Just rub their back if they need it. Just talk to them. Positive affirmations the whole way, and yeah, just that's the only other advice I can give. So I
Okay.
remember, because our kids came early, and my cousin's son was supposed to be born before ours, but ours ended up being born before his. So I came home, and then his was going to be born like 2 weeks later. So that was the only advice I could give him. I was like, hey, listen, dude, this is what could happen, and this is what all you need to do. And just be there. And yeah, because some people get freaked out about stuff like that, and it could be, you know, it's an experience, especially when there's a C-section involved.
Yeah.
She told me, she's like, please don't look, and you forget, and you're like, oh, cool. Oh wait, no, I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, it's curiosity, right? Curiosity killed the cat. You gotta fucking.
But that's when I started getting the emotions, because 16 hours of, well, first off, I didn't sleep because my wife was snoring. I'm allowed to say that, so I let her have the bed. I was going to sleep on the couch, right? But I was like, I'm staying up all the way so I can just be so tired I'll fall asleep on the couch. As soon as I close my eyes, she starts scuttling out and going, I think my water broke. I was like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
No.
No, it didn't. Can we not do this now, please? So anyway, so I was exhausted, but by that time, she was on the table and the meds were kicking in, and like, you know, that's when the emotions started getting me. I was like starting to get like nervous, and like my lips started quivering, and I was told that as an early age, and I know you guys talk about my grandfather and my father. They never cried in front of anybody, and they would yell at us if we even thought about it. So anyway, I'm just like, I'm here for you, no worries. And then I guess not anesthesia or whatever they gave her.
The epidural.
Yeah, it was starting to make her queasy, so she's like, I think I'm gonna throw up. And I was like, no. And the guy was like, and all, he literally just had like a little ring and like put it, or she had the ring or something, and just put like nothing on it. It felt like nothing, and she was fine. But it was just like, my goal was to make sure she was okay. Whatever was going on down here had none of my concern. It was just her. And then once the kids came out and I knew she was good, then let's put our focus on them. And then I was still on her, but also them at the same time. But yeah, all I can say is it's an experience. It's an awesome ride, and just expect the unexpected, but always have that positive affirmation. Just keep thinking positive, and no matter as crazy as it may seem, as bad as it may seem, it's going to work itself out.
All right, I'll take it.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to give Nick a little bit of anxiety over here. I think my goal is going to be to make Bella a Milan fan instead of a Juventus fan.
I got to tell you, he hasn't got our Juventus onesie yet.
What? So I'm going to Amazon. Milan onesie, baby. Oh, this is going to be hilarious. No,
I think he's a little more nervous than I am, to be honest, because he has everything like lined up in our bedroom. We have the car seat, his go bag, like his case for his toothbrush so he doesn't forget it, like the cord blood kit, like everything is just like lined up. And he's like, all right, like
for when your water breaks, right?
Yeah, because we've had a couple, like I had to go get monitored and a couple, things like extra ultrasounds and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
So.
Yeah. There's a whole nother story. I got to get my wife's permission to talk about all that stuff. But,
got to bring her on here.
Yeah, if she wants to. Or these guys allow it. Not allow it, but you know what I mean.
No, you're not allowed, bro.
How'd you make out with the car seats?
He had a little trouble putting the base in, and I waddle out there, myself, and I would look at it, and I was like, all right, this is how we're going to tighten this. This is how we're going to stabilize this, and we're going to shake it a little, and it doesn't move. And he comes back, and he's like, how'd you do that? I was like, don't worry about it. It's done.
I was on my hands and knees, like making sure like this thing can roll like 50 times and we'll be fine. Like, like pulling it as hard. I was like, I don't think it's supposed to be this tight. I was like, it's got to be tighter.
I love it.
Don't move.
I love it. Oh my God, this is hilarious. I can't wait. So she's coming soon. That's gonna be fun.
June 5th. Maybe earlier.
Oh yeah. Well, geez, it's already almost May. It's flying, man.
It's April. Yeah, April 19th, right? Jesus. Oh my God.
Take the quiet moments though. Like every once in a while, just stop and be like, Okay.
Yeah, that's something someone told me, because me being me, I'm always on to the next thing. I'm like very quick, and they're like, you got to remember to take in the moment. Just be present.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
And, cherish the time, because it goes by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. My guys just turned 3. I mean, for me, it's different story for everything. I spent the first 2 years just like, COVID nonsense and all that crazy stuff, with everything. But yeah, just do your own thing. Don't listen to anybody. It's like, oh, the terrible 2s, the terrible 3s. You're gonna have another one.
I'm taking all the advice with a grain of salt. I'm hearing everything everyone has to say, and I appreciate all the advice, but I'm gonna do what works for us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And the kids will vibe off of you. Whatever your energy is, they're gonna do the same thing. So it's just. And every kid's different.
I gotta remind myself to be calm.
Yeah, fucking just like Zen, right? Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like for me, it was just like growing up. It was all about fear, like it was just have the kid fear the parents, that sort of thing. But I was like, no.
No, respect.
Have fun, enjoy. Teach them to be good human beings. Because what I always say is, what you start out with is a psychopath, and your job is to mold them into a human being.
I like that.
Yeah. But also like respect, but also, yeah, I see where they say the fear. Like, don't fear you, but like discipline. And I know that you and Nick will be fine with that. But definitely the respect.
Oh, the look. You got to get... If you can have fun, but then something happens, and then you just give them that look, and they stop, you're like, I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
Everything's good. We set the tone. It's fine.
Set the tone. Fuck yeah. Parents got to set the tone
That's
for sure, bro.
right.
Parents got to set the tone. I say that never being a parent or not having been a parent, but parents set the tone. One thing I'm going to say, though, you said it being calm, right? I have this very good feeling that your rough pregnancy is going to reward you with, like, Bella. Of course, she's going to do the crying and stuff, but I think she's going to be fine. I
hope she's I hope so, but even if she's not, we'll make it work.
Yeah, you got to make it work. You have to, right? Yeah, you're right. But like at the same time too, like I feel like you're gonna be blessed with a nice calm as she can be. You know what I mean?
That too shall pass. Just remember that, or this too shall pass. Like those times where you're like, what is that? Because again, I know not to bring it to myself, but my thing I had to get over was fear. When I mentioned the fear, there was a certain decibel in the house. If you ever went over it, you got like screamed at, right? So having a child scream at me, my instinct was to be like, do the same thing, like yell back. But I had to like teach myself not to do it my way. And I did it calmly, but it's just one of those things because I've had it where the kid was perfectly fine, and all of a sudden it just went like red, blue in the face and just screaming. You're like, what is happening?
Well, they can cry, and then they can cry until they pass out, and then they'll come to.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
dude, literally, sometimes you just gotta let it happen, right?
Yeah, and however you guys want to do it, it's your own way. Don't listen to anybody else. All those people are going to try to chime in and be like, well, actually, you shouldn't be doing that. And you're going to be like, oh, okay. And when they leave, you go, yeah. Fuck that. So you gotta just do it your own way. It's your kid. Have fun.
Yeah, we're becoming well-rounded. We're reading books and taking classes and doing the whole Lamaze thing. And he thinks it's going to be like out of the movies, like Baby Mama. Is that the movie that I'm thinking of?
With what? Big Mama, Baby Mama.
It's the one where they're like, just put a little pan down there, spray it, and
is this the one where like they're going? I think I know what you're talking about. I think
she's like the surrogate, and Tina. Is it Tina Fey?
I think it might be Tina Fey, and it wasn't there like multiple couples in the movie, like based off the story was based off multiple couples.
No, it was like the one woman was like a surrogate for a woman who was like really type A.
It was
like
Amy something.
Yes,
from Parks and Rec.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So he thinks it's gonna be like that, but
that's fucking hilarious. Oh my god!
Like it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
for sure. No, it's fucking hilarious.
Just have fun with it. It'll get crazy, but that too shall pass. And, it's just reading the books. Yeah, that's good to know. Like, I didn't know anything. My wife grew up in daycares, so I was kind of like, she's got this. But, obviously staying, like, just learning as we go.
Uh-huh.
And, but you guys are doing right, reading books. And I would, just educating yourself, because trying to go in cold is kind of not the best way to do it either, because then it's just kind of like, because
it's the best method of learning, right? I mean, of course, it must suck, but
well, for me, I'm a hands-on learner, so you tell me something by a book, I'm gonna be like, well, that's probably not how it's gonna go. So it's gonna be this way. We'll figure it out.
And you're right, though. It's probably not how it's gonna go. No matter how many sleep training books I read or how many books I read on parenting or anything, and that's not how it's gonna go.
Well, it's like your pregnancy.
Literally, like I talk about it all the time with like when we won't get into it, but like with just jujitsu, I always have to mention jujitsu on the show, but you always have a plan even when you're going, and then like within the first 3 seconds depending on who you're going with, you're like, all right, yeah, that plan went out the fucking window. But it's literally shit that happens, and that's why you have to adapt, right? Life is like proactive, like a proactive reactive. You know what I mean? Like you have to react, but you can't be too reactive. Learn.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's all a learning experience, life in itself.
Oh my god!
Just tell Nick he's gonna get poop on his hands. He's gonna have to deal with it.
He says he's only changing pee-pee diapers.
Pee-pee diapers.
That's a no.
You drew the short. You drew the short straw on that one.
Gotta get your hands dirty.
Did he?
You had the fun. Now get your hands dirty.
Did he clip the straw and then put it in his hands and gave the straw to you? That's how he got it. I love it. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Now we look at each other at night, like when we're going to bed. I'm like, "Are you ready to be a dad?" And he's like, I don't know. Are you ready to be a mom? I don't know. Well, we'll figure it out.
Well, that's it. Riding down to Morristown, we're like, you realize this is our last trip together, like as just without kids. You just like have those, like we just took in the moment as I'm rushing to get there. But you know what I mean, because they're waterproof.
Hey, I mean, you know what though? Like, I think you guys will. I think you're both ready, right? Subconsciously, I think you both believe that you're ready, and you know you're ready. But fuck it, like it is. If you're not ready, you're gonna be ready.
Oh yeah,
You're gonna be ready.
Oh, it's all hands-on learning. It's fine. I never changed a diaper before I had kids, ever.
I think he's the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's really like.
So it's fine. You'll be good.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing though. Like, whose diapers would you have been changing? You know what I mean? So it's probably a good thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Questioning.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god.
He makes a joke because we live when you get out to the highway, the police station's like right there, right?
Yeah.
When you come out of our development, he's like, so when your water breaks, I'm gonna stop at the police station and tell them that we need an escort.
Yo, legit, fuck it. Why not?
Good idea.
I was like, no. I was like, just hop on 80. Let's go.
I mean,
Like,
Nick
we don't
drives
have time
fast
for that.
regardless. Yeah, Nick drives fast regardless. Like Fast and the Furious and that shit. So.
Oh my god.
Oh god, I always make a joke when I'm driving. I mean, he's a good driver, right? He is a good driver, but he does like speed. He's the Need for Speed. So whenever I'm sitting in his passenger seat and he's flying, I'm just making Lamborghini noises in my head because I'm a weirdo. But I always tell him, I'm like, bro, whenever I'm in the car with you, I feel like I'm in an F1. And he starts laughing. But he's good though.
Wait till your water breaks.
Yeah,
How fast it goes then.
Motherfucker's gonna be Nick Schumacher. That's what he's gonna do. Fuck. Awesome. Well, honestly, thank you for coming on the show. That was a lot of fun. And
that was
thank
awesome.
you, honestly, thank you for sharing your story. That took a lot. Honestly. That's awesome.
It's very uplifting too. Like for anybody listening and you have that going through something like that, because a lot of people, they have the tendency to continue hanging out with people that are, you got to start hanging out with positive people. They start like looking for people in the same area, like the same boat, and it's just like you got to talk to yourself, lift yourself up, and hang out with people like positive. Just keep positive. Mm-hmm. Like some people get into substances and all that other stuff, and then it's just like, no, just get rid of the toxins, get rid of that negativity, and then just you'll find out the person you were meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was nervous, but I really hope that me sharing all this will be able to help somebody, at least one person.
Well, at least one person, and that's all that needs, and it will. Couple of things I want to say. Any last thoughts for the audience, right? Too, and also, I actually, if you don't mind, can you reread the quote? Can you end on the quote that you came with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you started with?
So my last thought is be unstoppable. No matter what it is, just be unstoppable. Don't let anything get in your way. Just do what you have to do to be the person that you want to be.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Fucking love that.
And then the quote, again, it's from The Vow, and it's the moment of impact. The moment of impact proves potential for change, has ripple effects far beyond what we can predict, sending some particles crashing together, making them closer than before, while sending others spinning off into great ventures, landing them where you've never thought you'd found them. That's the thing about moments like this. You can't, no matter how hard you try, controlling how it's going to affect you. You just got to let the colliding particles go where they may and wait for the next collision.
Damn. It's deep. That's deep. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure. Any last words, bro?
No, just thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck with everything.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sure it's going to go smoothly, awesome, and you guys are going to be a great team.
Thank you.
Fuck
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
That for sure. Absolutely. Well, folks, you're listening or watching We'll Take It From Here podcast. We'll see you next week.